Don't sound shy. Don't be
not
shy.
be shy.
Don't be shy now.
Hi, I'm Madeline.
And I'm Caroline, and you're listening to Talkitecture, the podcast where we gossip as students
And spill the tea on all things architecture.
This week, we will be interviewing my childhood best friend, Kate. Kate and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Arlington, Virginia, and now Kate is a senior at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, where she is almost done with her BA in economics. Applause. And this coming summer will be a woman in finance in New York City. And we want to just ask her some quick questions to introduce her to our huge audience of listeners, ginormous audience. To get to know Kate better. And first up, what was it like growing up with me?
Hi, Caroline. Thank you for having me on. Thanks for having me on. That's a good question. So for those of you who don't know, Caroline and I actually met through a third friend, and we took the bus together. So we lived like maybe 4 blocks apart from each other.
Yeah.
And so like early years, lots of walking back and forth. And I would say growing up with you, you were very like organized in a way that I was not familiar with and very messy. You were very like artistic and creative. Like you loved your Pinterest board and you loved like putting everything in good color coordinated categories. I feel like I got to mention your dog Pippa. Like you've had this dog for as long as I've known you, little Yorkshire Terrier. And that was like very much part of your identity. And then yeah, I mean, a lot of that has stayed a lot the same, I feel like.
Yeah. The Pinterest board is still
The Pinterest
my
board is still
lifeline.
up and running.
Yeah.
It's very much alive and well.
Yeah.
20,000 plus pins at least. Gotta love Pinterest.
Adding more every day.
Yeah.
It's a force to be reckoned with. I mean,
No.
honestly.
I need to learn how to monetize Pinterest. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like make my own pins, but like there's no money in that.
No,
but like
no money
Do
whatsoever.
people like save your boards? I feel like they must at this
yeah,
point.
I get like emails at my old email. I get like tons of emails like this person pinned your pin, this person pinned your pin, and I'm like,
you could
so
be like
flattered.
a very underground like Pinterest influencer. Like that's got to be
I
a
have
category.
like 200 followers on Pinterest.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually
Wow.
pretty good for a Pinterest account.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Maybe after this episode comes out. Wonderful
Flock
plug.
to my Pinterest, Caroline Chapel. I think that's it. I don't even know my Pinterest handle, but
Okay, Kate, you grew up in Virginia like us. What did you think of UVA?
Well, my dad went to UVA. He got his master's here, so I knew it like through his experience. But also UVA was just like the super good in-state school that was really hard to get into. And something that we always heard growing up, like not sure the stats on it, but we always heard that it's super hard for like Northern Virginia kids to get in. Like we were always told that. Maybe that was just like to make us feel better, but it was like really talked about. And so like when the college application process came, like UVA was like a very popular choice. Like I think
Did you apply to UVA?
I did not apply to UVA. So the second part of what I was going to say is that I played volleyball. And so I went through a recruiting process, and UVA has like a fantastic program, like really, really good. And so I came to a camp here once and like had a great time, but the girls were just like way above my level when I was here for like
Really?
the age that we were.
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize UVA even had a good volleyball team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they like made the NCAA tournament this year. I'm not sure, but like a very competitive program here.
Wow.
Yeah.
We need to be more in tune with the sports.
Yeah, we're very out of we're on, like,
We're
arts
a little out of
campus.
touch, but
Yeah.
we're trying.
But the main thing about UVA was just like the logo everywhere. Like
Yeah.
cars all over the place. Like I had UVA merch. Like I think everybody had some
Yeah,
form of
everyone
UVA merch.
in school was always talking about UVA because we also did IB like Madeline. And so like UVA in the IB program was like the top. Like everyone
Gold.
wanted to go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Big
And
popular
everyone
pick for
did,
IB.
pretty much.
A
Yeah.
lot of people went. Like I think like that they said like 100 people from our graduating class would like apply and like 20 would get in or
Yeah.
something. Like
Yeah.
a very low number of that.
But it felt like more than that, I think, to us because, again, like you said, the IB program, it was like the school. So,
Yeah. Because it was so cheap, so good.
So cheap, so
So cheap.
good.
I think I got waitlisted or rejected. I don't remember, but I did apply
Hmm.
to UVA.
My
Yeah.
sister
Yeah.
just got waitlisted. Shout out.
Ellie.
But like she was thrilled. Like she was so happy
Yeah.
with that
Yeah.
outcome because she just knew how competitive it was.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you ever hear that Nova kids, it was like harder for them to get into UVA?
No.
Or, like,
Well,
it was like some lore that
This
they like
is-
kept feeding us.
Well, this is like a kind of a tangent, but something I discovered after getting to college was I feel like we were always told we had the best public schools like in the country.
Yeah.
And then I found out that everybody that I know was told that about their public school.
That's
and
hilarious.
I looked it up in our public schools, like 50th percentile in Virginia. Like it's like not any like top leaderboard
Damn.
school, but we were told like, oh, because like
Yeah.
this is such a good public school, like it's so hard to get in.
Yeah, we were literally told that we go to the best public school in the country.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And I just
really though?
one Google search and that is just not the that is just not the case like at all.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
they just tell public school kids that to make them better. Like just
Like motivated.
yeah,
Like a sense of
This
pride.
is the best.
Yeah.
I definitely did not hear that in my school.
No complaints about our high school. Great high school.
Okay, so Kate and I actually were both on the same track at one point to be finance majors in college.
That's crazy to me.
That's true.
So, Kate, why did you want to go into finance?
Like Caroline mentioned, when COVID started, we like were seeing all these headlines about like stock crashes, like market is crashing, and we were like, this is our opportunity. Like, let's jump on this. Like, let's make an E-Trade account and like become at-home day traders. And so we both made E-Trade accounts and we put money into them and like invested in stuff. And we're like, this is what we're going to do. Like, this is like our passion. I like loved economics in high school. And so that's kind of like what set me to look at econ in college. And then I got to college and the economic stuff became like a lot more like theory because like Brown doesn't have a business degree. And then it kind of led into some of the finance business courses. And I just like loved learning by case study. Like I loved learning about like all the different companies and what they were dealing with individually and getting to like look at it from a big macro lens of what's going on and how different stuff is connected and how that ties into the economy. And so then I got like really passionate about that and I wanted to learn as much as possible about like how these companies operate and stuff like that. And this word like investment banker kept like getting thrown around like a crazy buzzword. I remember I actually like heard the term for the first time on TikTok. I got a TikTok that was like, oh, investment bankers work 9 to 3, 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. And I was like, what is this career? Like, let me take a look. And yeah, as I learned more about it and like just getting to work with a huge scope of companies and scope of work. And everyone kept telling me, like, if you want to learn, like, this is where you should be. That kind of, like, headed me in that direction, I'd say.
So over our heads, first of all.
Like hearing how passionate you are about it. Like I do not share that at all.
That's okay. I mean, that's okay. Yeah.
But I love that for you.
Thank you. Thanks. Caroline, why did you kind of, like, fall off? Like, what was your, like, your distaste?
I was into it for the money, and then when I realized that the money was like not an enjoyable process for me to get the money.
Yeah.
Like I had to work for it and do something I didn't want to do for it. Then I was like, oh, this isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still have the E-Trade account. I haven't logged on in like
Wait, ironically
years.
though, we took a look. I've lost so much money on that E-Trade account. Like from that period where I was like looking up like 10 stocks to buy right now.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I was like, this is gonna be so rewarding for me. And all in all, I think Caroline is actually like doing way better than me just off her like
No, I
passive
definitely
strategy.
made money on that account. There's money in there that I forgot the password. I can't get in anymore. But like I bought like the airline stocks when they crashed.
You're
Nice.
joking.
So I have like I remember looking one day when I like knew the password and I had made like $100 and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Huh.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
no idea where.
Wow.
How to
Yeah, I remember
access
looking
that.
and being like, "Oh, the tech bubble burst. That's cool." Like,
Oh,
like
fuck, all
everything,
my
like,
money.
went down. Yeah.
Okay, well, you guys clearly know more about this than I do. So can you explain to me what finances and economics entails?
Sure. So, so finance and economics are like pretty different, I would say. So economics is like basically theory that applies to the world around us and how it works. So the way that like quote money like moves around the economy as a whole. So when we're looking at that, we're looking at really theoretical stuff like supply and demand and like how interest rates affect things and like utility curves of people and like what's going to bring them utility. But a lot of it is really up in the air. There's a lot of like statistics that are always trying to figure out if this stuff is like has empirical evidence or not. So that's kind of economics and kind of like policy's influence on that. Finance. So to finance something means to raise money for it. So when you're talking about like financing anything or like the field of finance, you're talking about like raising money for stuff. So me as an investment banker, we basically work on deals. So you'll be on like anywhere from like 4 to like 8 deals at a time. And basically when a company wants to do something, they hire investment bankers to take care of it and raise money for it. So like the biggest examples like mergers and acquisitions. So if you hear about like, oh, XYZ company is going to buy XYZ company, a bunch of investment bankers actually handled that purchase. So they like came in, they did all the valuation, they handled all the negotiations, all the legal aspects. They like coordinated all the communication between everybody in the C-suite, all the lawyers. They made all the PowerPoints, like all of it is all done by bankers. So anytime you hear of like a company doing something, there are bankers involved in that.
That's actually crazy.
Yeah. That's riveting.
I just
yeah, try not to fall asleep. But basically like so like when you hear about like Elon Musk bought Twitter, like he needed bankers for that. Like investment bankers did that for him. And you just have to handle the whole process. Like you're just yeah.
I just learned something. I literally didn't even know this.
Yeah. And it's much more than just like mergers and acquisitions. I mean, there's like anytime a company wants to do something new, they have to raise money for it and they need bankers to do that. And it's not just companies, like there's a public finance group and they do the same thing for state and local governments. So if you hear about like, Arlington County's building a school, there are investment bankers raising money for Arlington County on that deal.
Wait, that's so crazy. Investment bankers run
wonder
the
how
world.
I wonder how investment bankers can get involved in architecture. I'm sure.
Yeah.
they
Well, like
are.
anytime a building goes up, like they need to raise money for that. And when I say raise money, that's like then you're like getting into it because you're talking about like equity and debt markets, but you're like issuing equity and you're issuing debt to raise money for that type of thing.
With that part like throws me. The debt and like the equity part. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It just like that is like a little bit of a mind fuck.
I don't know how interesting it's going to be for your architecture fan base.
Yeah.
But
no, later when we when the podcast we have like our own firms and stuff.
Totally.
Right.
We need fundraising.
Like our hotel
Yes.
company.
Yeah, our hotel company. Yeah. Yes, of course.
No, totally.
Yeah.
But I hope that made sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that was great.
Kate actually used to like tutor me in high school basically because I like hated all of our IB classes and I was awful at them. And Kate would be like, okay, this is what we're doing in IB bio. And she like makes a lot of sense. Like you're a good teacher. Like I feel like you break concepts down.
Well, we're all IB alums.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Madeline, did you like the IB program?
I actually did because at my high school, there were only 5 other people in the program and we all had all of our classes together. And it was like a cute group of people and I liked being around them. Nice. But, I took my other electives like choir.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Where I met some other people outside of that little clique we had.
Multifaceted.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're also all in the IB grade where we didn't have to take any of the exams.
Exactly. I honestly
COVID
thank
year.
God for that. Yeah. That was kind of a godsend.
My saving grace.
No,
I don't think
for
I
real.
would have passed those.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't have gotten to graduate college early.
Yeah.
Like all of it. Like wouldn't have happened.
Wow.
Those tests if I had to take them.
Thank God for COVID.
And they were all handwritten too, which was like the crazy part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Wow.
IB is like a whole topic.
Moving on.
Okay. Were you surprised when I told you that I wanted to go into architecture?
Okay, so this is kind of on the topic of what you just brought up about hating your IB classes. But so when you first told me, my initial reaction was like, Caroline, you hate math. Like, I was like, you hate math. Like, you have always hated math. And so, like, I was like, what are you going to do? And you were like, no, Kate, get this. There's barely any math. Like, you were like, you're coming up with the designs and you're, like, doing all this, like, really complicated, cool, like, super cool technical stuff. But then you hand it over to a civil engineer and they deal with that part.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that's awesome. And then, I mean, I thought it made so much sense for you. Like, you're so, like, artistic and you're so good at, like, putting aesthetics together, but you also have this really strong technical like work ethic. And so I just thought it was such a good like crossroads of those two things for you.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm kind of jealous that you started architecture in grad school than undergrad, because for undergrad, at least at UMass, there was like a lot of math. Like I had to take physics, calculus, statistics, and all this stuff. And then I'm like, wait, I didn't have to do that?
Yeah,
like,
we got
what?
away with it. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of sneaked in.
Yeah. A lot of other grad programs, though, they will make you take calc and physics before you go. But UVA doesn't. They only make you take SDI.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that was also a deciding factor. I was
No,
like,
I know, that's
don't have to
crazy.
take that.
Yeah.
I do wish I did take it, because now I kind of like math in the way that I appreciate it. Like, I don't think I like it, but like I can see how if you're good at math, like there's a lot of design things that like you can encounter and be like, I don't know. It's just a different skill set.
Yeah. No, when I took physics a few years ago, I like passed just barely, but I was like, this has so much potential for me to like it if you just weren't testing me on it and like spent the time teaching me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I might love it, but
yeah.
no, I hated it actually.
But absolutely not. Yeah, no, I found out that, because the whole time I was thinking about interior design, similar to Madeline, and then I found out like, oh, architecture, you don't actually need like that much math and like you're not like sitting there doing hand calculations all day, which is what I kind of thought architecture was before.
Some square footage calculations.
Yeah, but like I can handle like
totally
multiplying some numbers,
Yeah.
adding some numbers up. But yeah, I figured that
Dare I
out,
say
and
it's
was
fun?
Like, wow.
I just figured out that you can like calculate square footage. Like the computer does it for you, and I've been doing it by hand this whole time. And I was like, wait.
She has these like triangles in her building, and she was like, guys, I don't know how to figure out the area of a triangle. And she has like in her sketchbook drawing triangles, and Tristan's just like, oh, like you just like click a button in Rhino and it like makes the square footage for
That's
you.
so funny.
Yeah. Okay, Kate, when you think of an architect, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Okay, this is not going to be agreeable to you guys at all, but glamour, like I actually think about glamour. Like sometimes I get videos on my For You page that are like being able to say that like I'm an architect, and there are these montages of like Gucci bags and like big skyscraper buildings. I know this is like so off base because you've talked about it, but I just think about like big, beautiful studios and like huge, nice sketchbooks full of like the next like life-changing skyscraper and doing site visits and like being on the top floor penthouse of a beautiful apartment building you just put up. And I don't know why, but it sounds very like adventurous to me and like really hands-on, and that was kind of my impression.
I kind of do agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel like half of that is true. The only thing that isn't true is it's not glamorous at this point that we're at. We are broke.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of money on materials.
Yeah.
But it
Which
is
I just
adventurous.
learned.
Yeah.
Which I just learned.
we do get to go on site visits, which is so much fun. Maybe one day we'll be able to buy Gucci and Prada, etc.
I was gonna say I get those like TikToks and reels
Same.
all the time, and I'm like, this is so sexy and glamorous.
They kind of encourage
Ooh.
me almost.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
I'm like, yeah, that's
that's
gonna
gonna be me
But yeah, can't afford a Gucci purse yet.
at this time.
No, not getting paid for this yet.
I'm actually paying for this. I'm losing money.
You know, like, have you gotten the videos that are like me struggling through architecture? Because after Caroline started going here, I started getting so many architecture school videos. And so I'll always get these ones that are like me struggling through architecture school. And then it's like my children being able to say my mom's an architect.
I was just going to say. I see those. I love them.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to be a mom and an architect. Hopefully.
Yeah. We were talking about like the main reason that we want to be registered architects is just to say that we're an architect, like just to like have the name.
It's just like fun. It's fun.
I just want that behind my name.
Yeah.
And it's not
That's
like
the
being
motivation.
a financer where you have to like explain what it is. It's like it's very like tangible and very impressive.
Well, Madeline,
I feel like, I was just going to say, I've actually had to describe what architecture is a few times.
Oh.
Okay. I have one instance that happened to me recently. I was getting my hair cut. Yeah, I was getting my hair cut, and my hairdresser was like, so what do you do? Are you in school? And I was like, yeah, I'm in grad school. I study architecture. And she was like, what is that? Like designing video games? Like, I'm sorry.
That's crazy.
I was like, no, like I design buildings, I draw buildings. And she was like, huh, like, and what does that mean? Like, but like, again, if you're not in like this world, like I wouldn't have really known what it is if I didn't start doing it, probably.
Maybe not the specifics. I mean, I had no idea that the modeling was such a huge part of it at
I didn't
all.
either, until I started doing it, I kind of didn't even know what architecture was. I thought architecture was more like engineering.
Yeah, same. That was my impression of architecture. Like, I feel like...
Thank God it's not.
Yeah.
But.
When we went to Chicago and we went to that meeting with the AIA leader in Chicago, she was talking about how architecture is like taught in high school. And we were like, what? Like, I had no concept of what an architect was in high school.
No.
At all.
At all.
Yeah.
When you say architect, I'm like, oh, those only exist in the movies.
Yeah.
Those aren't real.
Like, that's not like a real profession.
That's
like,
not real.
Don't actually do that. But they do, and they take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And we are two of those people.
Yeah. Okay. What is your idea of what architecture school is?
Extremely difficult. Like, again, with the For You page videos, I heard that architecture school is like one of the most intensive degrees that you can get, like just by hours per week. And so my impression was that it was just like all day, every day, like tons and tons of like working and editing your projects. Like that was very much my impression. And I would get these videos that were like, how many hours did you sleep before your pinup? And they'd be like 2 hours. So I was like, Jesus, like that's intense. So yeah, I would just say like long hours.
I think that that's true. To me, it doesn't even feel like that because I like it so much. So like the long hours, but I like doing it. So I don't even think of it as school. But some other people are like, oh my gosh, I hate this. I didn't sleep at all. Huh.
And Caroline, you brought this up to me like early on. You were like, I love it. I don't even think about it as like all this crazy amount of work. And we talked about how maybe it's because there are people of like who have like a very idealized idea of architecture and like the artistic side and forget about like the heavy grunt work piece.
Yeah.
So it's like a shock when you get there.
Yeah, especially like when you're a young architect or you're in school or something, you're doing all of the work like that the older architects like don't do anymore. Like when you're in a firm and you're like bottom of the food chain, you're the one actually designing the building. Like the person that slaps their name on it at the end of the day, they probably did nothing. Like they probably just looked at a sketch and they were like, yeah, that looks cool. But it's like actually like us in that firm who would be putting in like
drawing the plans, sections.
Yeah.
Like
designing the building.
Nitty-gritty.
Yeah. Like putting bathrooms places, doing like all the hard work. But yeah, I feel like I didn't even notice that like I was like stressed or like, I don't know. I just didn't notice because I loved it so much. I was like, oh, this is hard. But I didn't really like pay attention to that it was hard.
Yeah, but I feel like there will be phases where like our communication will be like less for like a few days and I'll be like, I bet Caroline has a pinup coming up. And then you'll text and be like, huge pinup Monday or whatever. And like, so I feel like there are those like phases.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We have our busy periods.
We really do. We really, really do. Okay, so you go to Brown, as we've said, as you know. I remember when I was touring architecture school, I toured RISD. RISD is right next to Brown. And no hate on RISD. It was just absolutely not for me. And I know Brown and RISD students have a lot of opinions on the opposite school. Do you have any thoughts on RISD?
So for those of you who don't know, so RISD is like has such a strong partnership with Brown. RISD students can take any Brown class and Brown students can take any RISD class. So a lot of the time it's kind of like RISD students are Brown students. Like we feel like they're just like I have had a RISD student in every class I've ever taken because like that's just how it is. Like there's a lot of crossover. There's definitely like a stereotype, I would say. Like people go as RISD students for Halloween sometimes. Like to parties and stuff. Because there is like RISD is Brown in itself, I feel like at least has a very artsy reputation as is, like a very like liberal artsy, like out there reputation. And then RISD would be a step past that, I would say. So it's just like the people who are like brilliant artistically, obviously, and like very passionate about their craft, but definitely like like that is their persona and that is like all encapsulating of what they do. Like that would be the stereotype. That being said, have had lots of like the RISD people in my classes are awesome. Like they're so talented, they're so smart. But there's definitely like a little bit of like a stigma there.
Yeah, that's kind of funny to hear. I remember when I toured, they were like, yeah, you can take any class at Brown. I was like, well, then I'll just go to Brown.
Yeah. Well, and you can even like get into RISD and then apply for the dual degree. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And like
cool.
I kind of just like think
cool
of RISD
setup.
as like a college with like sometimes like a college that's like within Brown or Brown within RISD. Like vice versa.
RISD is Rhode Island School of Design, just to clarify.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I feel like RISD, your campuses just like blend into each other. Like I never like notice if I'm like like near a RISD building versus a Brown building. They're just all.
Well,
all
RISD
one.
is like down the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brown's like, but they're like very close together and there's overlap. I mean, I'm like in a biomed class right now and we're using the RISD facilities for it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So what is your first impressions of the A School and UVA so far? To clarify, Kate is here visiting me for the weekend, and this is her first time at the A School.
So we went and did our little tour when nobody was in there. My first impressions, I mean, it's really cool. Like I really love the space in the building. I like how it's like super open in studio, so you guys can all see what everybody's working on and how everybody kind of keeps their work out on their desk. So there's just like I feel like it's a very like inspirational environment because you can just see that everybody's working and coming up with new different stuff. Yeah, the facilities downstairs are super cool, but you guys mentioned there's a lot of rules, but there's like, you know, it's cool downstairs.
What
There's a lot of
rules?
Remember I was like, use the air hose and you're like, we'll get corrected.
Oh no, that's more of an us problem.
We're just timid.
We just don't know how to use anything correctly.
It's like so intimidating because there's like all these students that are older than you down there, and they like are working on these like awesome projects using like the CNC machine and like a robot, and then I go in there and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm just gonna build this like stupid little thing and like use all this fancy equipment on it.
And when you say the older students working on the CNC, you mean the freshmen and sophomore undergrads, which are terrifying.
No, that's funny.
The undergrads here are so scary.
Yeah.
They're scary. If you're an undergrad at UVA, like, just be nice to me, please. I'm trying so hard.
I'm so terrified of you, and you're all better than me. Like, you actually
Fine, I'll say it. You're
like,
better than me.
Like, all of your work is like so amazing, and I just like look at it and I'm like, shit, put in my place.
Put in my place.
Yes, I'm a grad student, but not there yet.
Yeah.
Not at your level yet.
Yeah. I'd say like the building itself is cool, but I did get lost on my way to the bathroom because there's a lot of like sections to the building and like some parts of it are more like what you'd expect, and then there's like the more concrete space. And I mean, I love that about it, but it's like it's cool to navigate.
Yeah. I feel like the A School, it had like a lot of additions to it. So it's kind of, at first it took me a minute to figure it out. It's kind of cookie cutter. But did you have like any idea of what it would be like before you went in, of like any expectations of what the studio would look like or this?
I don't know. I guess like I expected like the clutter a little bit, like the way that everything is like sprawled out and there's just like stuff on the walls of designs, I guess. Whatever's all over the walls. I mean, I love how much like machinery and stuff there is. Like you guys have 3D printers in like 4 different sections of the building.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not gonna brag.
Yeah.
It kind of feels
I liked it.
casual in a way when there's like all this like stuff just like sitting out. Like I feel like it makes it more inviting in a way.
I feel like when I was younger, I would see all the machinery and like tools that we have access to and be like, oh my gosh, the people who use those, they must be like so skilled and talented, and how do they know how to like work? You have to have like a license, but no, it's just people like me who barely know what they're doing using those kind of things.
Also, the location's so nice. Like I feel like I'm like selling UVA right now. But the A School is like right next to everything. Like it's in the center of campus. I mean, it is a pretty big campus, right? And it's like right by the main green area and like the strip where like all the food stuff is. So that was also surprising. I was kind of expecting you guys to be in like a far off like graduate like wing of the college.
Yeah, it is nice that like the grad school is like not separate. Like we're very integrated with the undergrads.
Definitely.
And yeah, the location, like we're right on the corner in the lawn.
Just
I
all
like
the
that
frat
part.
houses.
Yeah.
Just right there.
Surrounded by frats, but really close to the center of campus.
Yeah.
Also, to clarify, when I came to UVA, I didn't know what the A school meant. When we say A school, it does mean architecture school.
Yeah, that's what they call it here, the A school.
Yeah.
Kind of a funny
Don't like a
little-
bunch of architecture schools have like fancy alternative
yeah.
names? Isn't that
So
a
like
thing?
the GSAP is like Harvard. No, that's Columbia's architecture school. And what's Harvard's? Harvard's is
I don't know
like-
what Harvard. I know SCAD has something to do with bees. It's like the honeycomb or like something like that.
The Hive or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That could
so
be
weird.
completely incorrect. Sorry
Yeah.
to my SCAD friends.
But there was, on our first orientation day, they were like, yeah, this is your professor for this class. And they went to the GSAP, you know, they graduated. And I was like, the
I'm like,
GSAP?
don't say these things like I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, explain.
I was like, oh, this is supposed to be impressive. Like, oh, they went to Columbia. Like, oh, they went to like one of the best architecture schools. Oh, they went to Yale.
Well, guess
Just
what?
say that.
You ended up
Oh,
at
Yale.
UVA just like me. So
And
Yeah.
look at you standing in this classroom teaching me.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
look at you.
yeah.
Getting paid by me.
Getting paid.
Very true. So maybe a moot point, but whatever.
Yeah.
How do you compare Brown's architecture to UVA?
Okay, so I only have one experience with architecture at Brown, which is that one of my teammates majored in architecture and she didn't enjoy it, but I think it's like because she didn't enjoy architecture in general. And then I took one class which was history of the architecture of houses, which was like a complete global history of like house architecture. I did take it pass fail, so not gonna go into that history for you right now. But I don't think it's very popular. Like I don't think it's a very robust program. I might be really wrong on that. I think it sits in the List Arts building, which is like kind of on the outskirts of campus. And I feel like there's a lot of really artsy kids at Brown, and a lot of them are more into like film and like actual like sculpting and painting and stuff like that. Not that those are comparable to architecture.
No,
but-
yeah. I
yeah.
feel like even when I toured RISD, architecture wasn't huge there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's that big.
Yeah. Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like RISD is an art school first, and like that's how they accept people is like based on like their artistic talent, unless like architecture is like a combination of like artistry and design, but like technical skill and like
Yeah.
more theory based in a way. And I feel like RISD doesn't look for that. They look more for like really gifted artists.
I also feel like Brown and RISD, like they're less about like pre-employment education. They're really big on like producing 1 in every 50 students is some like standout doing something like crazy and new, and that does leave a lot of students behind. So I can imagine that their architecture department is looking for like that one standout who's going to build like something nobody's like thought of and is going to be like a controversial building, rather than like producing a bunch of like really fantastic like
Yeah, I
architects
could
overall.
imagine.
Yeah.
Like, it would be so interesting to see one of their final pinups and like what their buildings look like and stuff. I feel like they would be like just very different.
Yeah, I don't know.
I kind of feel like they would be the same.
Really?
I think they just think that they would be so different
Yeah.
and artsy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
really it's like we're all architecture students.
Yeah.
We're all like the same
Well,
level of creativity for the most part.
That's what I mean though, is I feel like Brown almost like overemphasizes like those kinds of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time that type of stuff doesn't ever end up as anything. Like it's like not feasible for whatever reason. So I mean, at least like I've taken a lot of the writing and English classes, which is as close to like the arts department and like more that side of campus as I've gotten, and they are so focused on like books that are like an alternative writing style that like 95% of people don't like, but then that 5% is like, oh my god, give it the National Book Award, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
would
think
be
of-
like, give me the romance novels.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think of like Otessa Moshfegh
That's exactly what I was
and
thinking
like
of.
her writing style, which is just like unique, like her ideas for books and everything. Like,
Yeah.
that like kind of unique. She graduated from Brown with a master's in English,
Yeah.
which just makes
Shout
so much
out.
sense. I feel like I read a book and I'm like, this feels like Brown.
Yes,
giving
I
Brown.
told you that. So I
Yeah.
read that book because Caroline was like, you need to read this. I did not like it. And it's getting super popular. And I felt like I was like, this just feels like the type of thing a Brown student would
Yeah.
write. And then she did. She went to Brown.
It's
yeah.
just
I
a
don't really
vibe.
know that much. We're really undergraduate focused. So I don't really know that much about like the grad schools. Like,
just-
the,
yeah.
do we have a grad school for architecture? Like at Brown?
At Brown? No,
Yeah.
not at
Yeah.
Brown. No. But there's like one in, oh my God, Roger Williams. Yeah. They have like a weird architecture department somehow that like has a ton of funding somehow. I don't know. It's
Roger
like
Williams,
odd.
I think it's a pretty big school.
Okay. Moving on. Are you excited to graduate?
Yes. I would say mixed feelings. I've had like a really great undergraduate experience. Like I just shit talk Brown a ton on this podcast, but I love Brown. Like I love the student body. I love the culture. I always describe it as like the opposite of a competitive culture. Like it is so collaborative, so encouraging, and it really just like changed my outlook on what was possible for me, what was cool to do and pursue and like be who you are. And I mean, I've made like a bunch of really, really great close friends at Brown who I've been friends with like since freshman, sophomore year. So all of that is obviously like, you know, it's a lot, but at a certain point it's time to move on to the next thing. And so I'm definitely feeling a lot of that like this semester, much more so than last semester. It's definitely scary, like really scary, but I'm excited. I mean, next adventure. So
Yeah. I feel like just knowing your friends and everything, like I was sad for you guys.
yeah,
So, like,
yeah, no, it's very emotional.
they like, I love Brown and like their friend group is like so cute and like, I don't know, it just was like such a great experience, but on to the next.
On to the next.
And you know, hopefully that's not going away, but it definitely someone once told me, they were like, you think that you're like enamored with college, but really you just love walkable communities.
I saw that. I saw a TikTok about that. And I was like,
I read an article about it. No, it was a TikTok. And and so I hope that someday that can be like recaptured, because it's just great being close to everybody. Like that's what's so great about it.
I think that's why like so many people are pulled to New York after college too, because it's like that little like community, but you're still in like the thick of it in this big city where like everything's happening around you, but you have like your little community.
Yeah, no, I would describe like living in New York felt exactly like college. Like no driving, like because you're taking the train, even if it's 40 minutes, it feels like it's walking distance.
Oh, yeah. My next question. Do you have any post-grad plans?
I do. I'm doing investment banking for JP Morgan in New York. Exciting. Yeah.
Flex.
Yeah. I interned with them last summer. I loved it. So I'm excited to be going back.
That's really cool.
When does this start in the summer for you?
My start date is June 24th. And so another thing about finance is when you're working in public markets, you have to take exams. So I have to take series exams. So I have to take the series 79, 63, and the SIE exam. And so and if you don't pass all three, you are out of a job. So I have to train all summer in New York, and then like we train in a facility in Brooklyn, and then we take those exams near the end of the summer, like early August. And then like hopefully you pass those exams, and then you quote like hit the desk, which is when you're actually in the headquarters and you're like working on deals.
Okay, when you describe this like workshop thing in Brooklyn, I just in my head I'm thinking like Divergent, you know, when they like go to that workshop and you get on the train and they're like jump. I don't know why I just associate that with this Brooklyn
So they have
workshop.
this I think I forget which subway stop it is, but they have this like training facility. They do all their training through there. So you're with like people who are training in every department, and it's very uniform. They go through like a third-party company. It's really slowly paced. So basically like this past summer, it was you would like learn for an hour, do a simple exercise, and then you get an hour break. And then you learn for an hour and then you get an hour break. And I've been told, I mean, that's obviously an exaggeration, but it's a lot of just like meeting your coworkers and like bonding. And I think it's mostly for them also just about like company culture. It was pretty fun. Like it's supposed to be a pretty fun time before you start. It's supposed to be like the calm before the storm. So
that's nice.
I'm excited for that part. Like that's a nice like ease in, I think.
Yeah. That's so crazy about the exams. Out of a job if you don't pass that exam.
I mean, it makes sense, but it's also so
because,
scary.
Yeah, it's like a risk thing because like I can't be screwing people over.
Like
it's like
you're dealing with
money.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
You said that you noticed some like parallels earlier in the trip between architecture and finance. What do you think are some of those kind of like similar things or things that are super different?
Yeah, so I did feel like the setup of the studio like reminded me of The Office, and like the way that you guys have kind of like come together because you're this group of like 30 people and you're just together all day, every day, like working at your desk, like reminded me of the hour intensive culture of like banking and like your coworkers. I think it was also just something about like all the desks in a row and everyone's seeing everyone and what everybody's doing, and like everybody's working, and there's kind of like that group like pressure to be working, and then also eating at the desk also reminded me of it. So
we try not to do that.
Yeah.
But we fail every day.
Every day.
Yeah. Just there being this like one space where you're spending pretty much all of your time. That's what reminded me of it. I was
Just
like, this
intensity.
is your area.
Yeah, I think finance and architecture share that. It's just like being really intense work cultures.
Differences. I mean, we only work on a computer. Nobody can draw. Nobody yeah. And then obviously like architecture has this very like creative, open concept kind of idea, and then we do have like a right answer that we're trying to like get to, and so we're like working back and forth to get to that. So
yeah, like a lot of it we have to remind ourselves that these are just people's opinions, and like there's not really a right or a wrong in a way. Like there's certain rules, but they can be bent.
I think that's important to remember.
Yeah, vital to survive, honestly. To remember,
honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, you're wrapping up being at Brown. Do you have any tips to people who want to go to Brown?
Yes, I would say as early as you can, figure out what your genuine interests are and focus your stuff on that. I know for us, like there was definitely this craze junior, senior year of like join every club you can, get every charity, whatever nonprofit that you can on your thing, like note down that like 2-week summer camp you did, like, and then also note down like the trip you took like to help turtles like in the Galapagos, and like nothing was really connecting. I'd say it's a much bigger deal to like just genuinely like try different things early, and then whatever you like, pursue those things. And then the second thing I would say is don't be afraid to reach out to people. And I'm not talking about at Brown, I'm talking about in high school. If I'd known the power of like emailing people to get opportunities and get involved in things earlier, I have no idea the kind of head start I would have had, or the kind of like student I would have been, or like what my perception would have been to other people around me. Like when I was in high school, it felt like, oh, well, you can't really get involved with stuff. You have clubs and you have your SATs, and like do that. But I would say people are really willing to like have help. Like I guarantee, especially like if you're living like in a city, like there are organizations that will take you, and that stuff looks so cool because a lot of people don't know that you can just like email people and like get roles. But all that aside, I did play volleyball at Brown. So I went through a recruiting process which looked like slightly different. So yeah, if you're good at a sport, take that as far as you can. Like,
honestly,
go the distance with that.
I feel like we didn't realize that having a specialized application was super important for college. Like I didn't realize that if I like could show like this was my specific interest and what I wanted to pursue in college through my application, that was like what was going to get you in places.
Yeah, I remember once I used to be obsessed with like college admission videos, like when people like reveal all the places they got in. And I remember one guy who like went to Princeton or something, like he did this video where he was like, you need to pick 3 things and you need to just stick within those 3 things. And then you have like something for each supplemental, something for your main, you have like a story to tell about yourself. And like something about finance is it's so much through like recruiting, like it's so much through networking, and you really have to learn to brand yourself. And I think that's really hard in high school when there's like all this different information being thrown around. But if you can learn to brand yourself, like it goes so far. Like you can look like an entirely different candidate than somebody who's probably like pretty much the same as you.
Branding yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting to hear. I feel like you seemed very excited to go to college.
Yeah. I was.
Yeah.
I was super excited. I mean, well, also, so like for those of you who don't know, like the recruiting process starts when you're like 14. So I was like talking to colleges like from my freshman year of high school. And so it was like a very long process to get there for me. And so college had been talked about for so long. And also, I mean, obviously I had a team that I was coming into, so I was excited for that community that it was just like it was time to get there.
Yeah. You like had so much time to think about it. And like she toured Brown and toured all these other schools, and like I feel like that was really important. It was like real in your head.
Yeah.
Like, I think to us it kind of wasn't real. Like it didn't feel like, oh, I'm going to college.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I knew I was going to college, but I just like didn't care.
Yeah.
I was so like laissez-faire, c'est la vie, you know, whatever. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. I don't think Brown would have been for me because I'm not so intense about college, but it's like those are really good advice because if someone is like you and is really excited to go to college, it's important to start like soon, I guess.
Yeah. And I also think like one of my favorite things about Brown is like it's really what you make of it. Like I know people who got a job and they're taking all their classes, because another thing about Brown is you can take as many classes pass fail as you want. They're taking all their classes pass fail all year because they just like they know they're going to graduate that way, and they're taking 3 classes both semesters all pass fail.
Oh my God.
And then I know other
that.
people who are like founding university hedge funds and like running clubs and like thinking about dropping out because of like the startups they're involved with, and like there's just like such a dichotomy that you can be any type of student there, really.
Yeah, I feel like every person that I met at Brown had some super like niche, really interesting experience, like music or finance or startups. Like everyone had like a thing.
I mean, I didn't really like have a thing when I got there, but I feel like I have a thing.
Yeah.
now.
I guess I was meeting like sophomores and like juniors who like established that, but yeah, I feel like Brown is kind of good at like channeling that in a way because it's so like freeform, I guess.
But I haven't met anyone who doesn't like UVA.
Yeah.
Like nobody. And again, we know a lot of people who went here, and so
They
that's like
love
pretty
it.
impressive that it's like so likable here.
It was
No,
almost annoying. I was like, why do you like it so much? And now I'm here and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, we thought it was like so obnoxious in high school when people were like UVA,
Yeah,
I
like
wanna
why
get
are the
there.
stickers everywhere? And I've been here 2 days. I'm like, can we go to the bookstore so I can like buy some sweatpants?
Yeah, no, it's like amazing here.
No,
Like,
I
love
love
UVA.
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think if you can find a school that has a good community and weather you like, I think that's the secret
Honestly,
recipe.
Weather?
Yeah.
Weather
Yeah.
and community.
No, weather is a serious consideration.
Yeah.
Like actually, like one of the biggest things I'd say about here and like Rhode Island is that spring is a cold season in Rhode Island. Like spring is cold. Like you know that. Like
Same
you wear
at UMass.
you wear coats in spring. Like
Yeah.
and here that is not the case. Like I associate
Yeah.
spring as like a warm season. So
I like thrive off seasons.
Yes.
At UMass, it was like summer, winter, 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 summer.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
okay.
Rain, rain, for like 4
Rain,
weeks.
snow, blizzard.
Yeah.
I need my 4 seasons.
Yeah, same.
So the biggest question we have today, what do you think of Talkitecture and are Madeline and I good podcasters?
I think you guys are the best podcasters
Oh
I've
my God.
ever met in person.
Stop.
In person, keyword.
This
This is the best podcast I've ever been a guest on. So
Oh my God.
that's pretty
So there's a catch.
no, I think it's super cool. I think that like I wouldn't have even like thought of something like this to do, which is so cool. But it is something that's interesting enough that I don't think you're just gonna have architecture people listening. I think you're gonna have plenty of people listening. I'll be listening. I listened to
Yay.
I got a sneak peek at one of your episodes last night, and
Yeah.
I was very engaged, thoroughly engaged in that episode. So
Yeah, that's the
think it's
goal of
gonna be
having
big.
guests on and stuff.
Yeah.
Now we have some Brown listeners, some investment bankers.
maybe some
Yeah.
angry ones.
Yep.
But, you know,
Most likely.
but it's, maybe some RISD students will be in my inbox. It's okay.
Yeah, you can have
Only
angry
time will tell.
architects, investment bankers, whatever, angry VT kids. maybe,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
all of them.
Oh my God, those Virginia Tech hates us already.
Do you feel like you're like sensing that rivalry with Virginia Tech?
present.
We've made it. We've
Yeah.
made the rivalry.
Like the architecture school, or you're gonna like go like
And in
They
one
don't
of our
even
episodes,
exist.
we are
They're
what?
they're not real. No, like there's no rivalry because like what are they doing? I haven't heard of them.
Because they're so irrelevant.
they're so irrelevant.
case in point. Yeah. No, we love Virginia Tech.
No, I feel like
It's next to Busch Gardens, which I do genuinely love.
That's cool.
I feel like we should have like reviewers from VT because they have a pretty like good architecture school too.
I think it's
So it would
actually one of their
make
best
sense.
programs at the school.
It is their best program, and
Yeah.
like, it would make sense that like we're gonna have a VT professor because it's so close they can
Right.
drive, come and be an external critic, but we've never had one, and I
Because
don't
they're-
think we critique them either.
Wait,
Like,
how
it's
far is
legit.
Virginia Tech from
I
here?
think it's like 3 hours.
Oh my gosh, that's close.
Yeah, no, it is. It might even be closer than that. But I think for the longest time in Virginia Tech and UVA are rivals.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
sports, academics. We will never have a guest
No.
from Virginia Tech.
No. They're banned.
Banned.
I just think it's crazy that we haven't had any reviewers from there because they'll like fly people
know.
from like Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Arizona, like
UPenn.
Mexico,
Massachusetts.
like, literally different countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer that.
Yeah, I mean it's fine, but I feel like if you have two really good architecture schools in state, you would kind of like
But
share some things.
It's a
wait, but I
mystery.
do get it because like they are competing for students.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very
Like,
true.
yeah, very
if they
true.
have a great architecture program, like someone could very seriously be considering between the two of them.
No, I
So,
know. Yeah.
That's
That's the
cracks the
answer. That's
case.
why we figured it out.
Solved.
Okay, Kate, we like to end our episodes with a fun little game. So we're going to play Would You Rather. Are you familiar?
I am familiar. I actually love Would You Rather.
Okay, awesome. Caroline, you can start off.
Okay. So the first one is be an architect or a financer,
Oh.
aka banker.
Okay. Well, I think that our answers might pretty cookie cutter to the people in the room. For me, it's gonna have to be banker, which I know does not make sense to you guys at all. Part of that being artistic vision is just not something I was blessed with. Never has been. Never like. I think what you guys do is so cool, but I also think like there is a little bit of like talent and like draw involved that I just have never had in that area. So.
And I feel the same way about bankers.
There you go.
Same.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather be an architect.
Yeah, I would rather be an architect.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, and that's why we are.
And that's why
You know,
we've
if-
chosen these career paths.
If reputation was a consideration, that might affect my answer. But yeah. Good answer.
Okay, next question. Would you rather live in Charlottesville or live in Providence?
That is a tough one. I feel like I have grown to love Providence. Like, so we have like Johnson and Wales, which has a really, really good cooking school. So we actually have the highest amount of restaurants per capita in Providence. Fun fact. So I love like the restaurants there, and I love like the historic town feel. The weather is a problem, like
Yeah.
100% a problem. It is very rainy. Like I think it just rains so much, and it's always cold rain. It's never warm rain. But I also love the proximity to the beach because we're actually like 1 hour from the beach.
That's
and
so cool.
Yeah, we go a lot. And then like the city, like Boston and New York is really awesome. So I think I'm going to have to go with Providence. But also this is like my third time to Charlottesville. So I would need like a more in-depth tour.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got a little bit of a taste in our social life in Charlottesville. Last night we went to this place called Cardinal Hall, which is basically like a beer garden, kind of. It's just like beer, pretzels, fries, burgers.
beer hall. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my favorite place. I love it.
Yeah.
Best pretzel in
The
Charlottesville.
Yes, yes, so good.
Yeah, last night I did eat 2.
So sweet.
We did order 3.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to give Cardinal Hall a 10 out of 10. Like that
Yeah.
was
Cardinal
so
Hall was
fun.
awesome.
No,
There's
I
also
love it.
games there. It's so much fun.
It's always packed as it should be.
Yeah.
Like, they're making so much money off that place. Whoever owns it.
Yeah.
They're smart.
It's super fun. Yeah, we try to do fun stuff in Charlottesville. I
Yeah.
love Charlottesville. I
Yeah,
didn't think
I
I would
really
like it as much as I do.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the moral for me at UVA.
Same. That's the moral
Yeah.
of the story. Okay, the next one is go to a frat house completely sober or give a class presentation drunk.
I think I'm gonna have to go with class presentation drunk.
Whoa. Okay,
I-
that speaks on the frat house.
No, I mean I love a good dirty frat house as much as the next person, but
Completely.
I feel like I have a lot of confidence when I'm drunk, so I feel like depending on the presentation format, and is there a Q&A in the presentation, or is there no Q&A component? Do I get to talk and sit down?
I'm going to say there are a few questions being
Yeah,
asked to you at the
yeah.
end.
But they're not too technical.
No.
Okay. And this is like a school presentation,
Sure.
not for
Yeah.
work. I'm gonna have to go presentation. I
Okay.
feel like
Okay.
I could get into that.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like you could do that. Yeah.
But I have done the sober going out thing. It's not terrible. It's fun.
yeah, it depends on the night.
It's really
Yeah.
perspective forming.
Yeah.
About what everything looks like. So
I would
That's
say
fun.
go to a frat house completely sober because it's almost more entertaining for me. I mean,
don't
I don't get to
know.
participate in the fun, but I'm having my own fun.
yeah, that's not that crazy of a thing. I mean, if the
No.
music is good, like you still get to like dance and
Yeah, there's certain parties I've seen or like Darties here where like they have a live band and I'm like, okay, like if I like wasn't drunk, like I would still have fun.
Yeah.
It's just like a little mini concert.
The
Yeah.
frats here at UVA are like full send.
Yeah, if you like want to be part of Greek life, come to
Come
UVA.
to UVA. There are live
UVA.
live bands, by the way. Like,
Yes.
what frat has that? Also, we were walking past another one the other day, and there's like a bamboo wall suddenly surrounding one. We're like, how did they
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
this? We're not in the tropics.
we passed that and I was like, oh, what are those yard decorations? And Caroline was like, I've never seen that before. They just put that up.
I swear they were not there.
And it was
like
like
a few days ago.
100 shoots of bamboo all of a sudden in one day.
No,
They're
it's
prepping
impressive.
for something.
It's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe
they
they have
go
an
hard.
architect in there because
Oh,
it Yes, like very. Yeah.
And like the bouncy house.
I know. I saw one with the bouncy house the other day. No one was in it. Like,
I don't know when
but
that
you
occurred.
know.
And like they build their own like pong tables sometimes, and you just see like wood and tools laying out in front of their yard.
Yeah, like I feel like I've seen so many people in suits and dresses here. Like I've never seen before.
Very preppy school.
So preppy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I really like it. I like that everyone dresses up and like
it like makes me feel like safe in a way because it's kind of like funny seeing everyone and I'm like, oh, we're just like little kids like all dressed up in suits walking around playing pretend. Okay, next question, would you rather be an undergrad or a graduate student?
I've not been a grad student before. I can like maybe see grad school in my future, like TBD. I don't know. I feel like you guys had a very different undergraduate experience than me.
Yeah.
Like at least like Caroline for sure. It's like it's hard to compare them, but crazy take. I think I'm gonna have to say grad student.
Wow. Wasn't expecting that.
I've loved my undergrad experience, but actually loved it. But I'm thinking like wide scope, like everyone I've seen. And like Caroline, your experience, like in grad school, you know why you're there. You have like a sense of purpose. You like have a direction that you're headed in. And maybe you're like a little bit older, so you're not like having a prepubescent like mental spiral all the time about like what am I doing with my life, like who am I talking to, like cycling through different people. So yeah, I think I'm gonna just like grad student sounds way more like settled to me. Like that's
I love being a grad student. I like the social life of a grad student. And I like that I know what the end goal is.
And I like that we all are at least 21. Like we're the youngest
being
in our
able
group,
to go to like a restaurant and order a drink is actually like a huge
it's like there's just like that whole like mess of figuring that out when you're an undergrad taken away, and it's just like, guys, let's go to this bar tonight, and there's just like no like
with our professors sometimes
and then you drink with our professor and just like
our professor serving us wine at like
last night was so fun. Like you just like get everybody together. Like, and
the
go to a beer hall, play games.
I feel like they respect you more. Like there's a baseline.
They know that you're here for real.
Yeah, because you're not going to do this if you're like not serious about it.
And it is so fun.
Yeah.
All right, Caroline, read out the next question.
Would you rather date Brad Pitt or Matt Damon?
I'm gonna have to go with Matt Damon.
Yes.
And I'm going to say because of the movie Good Will Hunting.
Like
that is the reason. Like I love the whole hidden genius thing, like good for him. So yeah, I'm going to have to go with Matt Damon. But I also
1,000% agree.
But something to preface that, I've never seen the movie Fight Club. So
I haven't either.
Yeah.
So
that
might really, it's life-changing in the sense that, like, if you think Brad Pitt isn't hot and then you watch that, you're going to be like, oh, and I get it now.
It's not a question of if he's hot. He's obviously hot.
Yeah, no, he's...
Matt Damon just has, like, I don't know.
Okay.
Pizzazz.
It's just, like...
I'm also thinking about them both young, not now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they look now.
I don't know.
The Martian? Have you seen The
Martian? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Caroline, who would you choose?
I would choose Brad Pitt.
Yeah. I know.
No, I just love him. Like
such an obvious choice.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know. He's not like my top celebrity crush. Well, maybe he is. I don't know.
I think he is.
You think he is your top
he
of
might
all time?
Be. He might. Fight lightning.
Wait, would Matt Damon be yours?
No.
Okay.
We were just watching Ocean's 11 and I was like, Matt Damon is so hot, and you're like, Brad Pitt is so hot, and I was like, we're at a crossroads here. No. The podcasters know my top celebrity crush.
Shoot, well, I'm gonna have to ask about that after.
Gonna have to listen.
Listen to
I'll
learn.
have to catch it on the air.
Okay.
A little Easter egg.
And our final question: would you rather be a podcast host or a podcast guest?
Good one. I mean, I'm having a fabulous experience right now as a guest, but you guys seem like you're having fun too. So I'm gonna go with guest. I feel like
there's a freeness to it.
Yeah, it's nice to like come in and like hear you guys do your thing and like see what everything's all about. Yeah, I don't know what I would host a podcast about. I mean,
finance.
Yeah, but there's a lot of women doing the like women in finance podcast thing
Yeah.
now. Like, I get them on my feed all the time. So I don't feel like that's like a new thing. This feels very new to me.
I feel like it's crazy that like there's so many women that are so vocal about being women in finance, but there's not in architecture. Like, I don't understand where are the girlies once they graduate? Like, where are they? Where do they
They're
go?
working.
Yeah, they're too busy grinding.
Yeah, they're busy.
Men have all this time, but
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening to Talkitecture, and thank you to Kate for being our very first guest on Talkitecture. Make sure to follow our Instagram and TikTok at talkitecture.pod for updates on future episodes. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.